Welcome to the season finale of the Shot List Show, the show where we review the good, the bad, and the meh of all things movies. My name is Malachi, and for today, me and my co-host Jeff are going to be going head-to-head on our favorite movies of all time in a game that we like to call Film Fights.
Welcome one and all to the first annual film fight of the Shot List Show. I am your referee Malachi from a different timeline, and I am going to explain the rules here. So, there are 3 rounds. Each round is going to be a different movie category where Malachi and Jeff are going to go head-to-head explaining their favorite movie in each category. It is up to y'all to let me know down in the comments who y'all think won. And for our first round, we have the theme of, drumroll please, favorite animated movie.
Alrighty, so for my favorite animated movie of all time, I have picked Coraline, which was released in 2009. It is a claymation movie made by Lakia Studios. I think they only have 4 movies out right now. They're working on a 5th one. And this movie is my favorite just because it's a kids movie that teaches you to kind of just mind your business and appreciate what you have. A long story short, the movie starts off with Coraline and her family moving into this new apartment complex with a bunch of weird neighbors that are there, but they aren't introduced till later in the film. While she's touring the house, she finds this little door that unlocks in the nighttime, and she goes in this door and finds a tunnel, which leads her to the exact same house that she was already in. But when she exits and goes into this new house, there's a parallel universe where her mom and her dad are so much happier than they were in the original universe. They treat her with all these good foods, a gravy boat. Her neighbors are Mr. Bobinski, who has jumping mice that can perform, and Miss Spink and Miss Forcible, who can do acrobatics, and all this stuff goes on. And then you find out towards the end of the movie that they're all evil, and the mom in the other universe is trying to kill her, which is kind of dark and kind of morbid for a kid's movie. But as you will soon find out by my favorite movie, the dark and morbid stuff is kind of my gig. So I highly suggest that you pick my movie over Jeff's, because Jeff's it's pretty good, but mine's better. Mine took a lot of work to create. His is a little rinky-dink drawing movie by Disney, and they got 50 Disney movies, so you should pick mine for round 1. And yeah, that's why Coraline is the best.
Alrighty, so again, my name is Jeff, and for my animated movie, I have picked a movie that came out in the year 2000. It is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and that is The Emperor's New Groove. Now, if you have not watched this, this is about an emperor named Cusco who likes to dance around. He has a groove. You don't want to throw off the groove. And he has so this is his advisor, evil advisor, and she basically wants to bump Cusco off. Her assistant Kronk messes it up and accidentally turns him into a llama. So then they have to go throughout a whole big old ordeal trying to get Cusco back to being a human again, or Yzma and Kronk actually killing him. He ends up bumping into this other guy, Pacha, who helps him get back to the castle to try and turn back into a human. And throughout the whole thing, Pacha ends up turning Cusco from being this selfish brat into someone who thinks about other people. If you haven't watched this, this is a very quotable movie. It's so much fun. And this, I really believe, if you actually even tried to watch this, then you would make sure that this movie would be the absolute best movie. This would be hands down. So there we go.
And for our second round of the match, we have the category of favorite guilty pleasure movie.
Alrighty, so for round 2, my favorite guilty pleasure movie is Spider-Man 3, which is directed by Sam Raimi, and it came out in 2007. I know a lot of people don't like that movie just because of the cringe factors. One is the way that Venom was portrayed. One was Tobey Maguire doing his dance scene. There's so much that is cringy about that movie. The only reason I love it so much is because I grew up with the movie. And also, I think it's one of the only superhero movies where the main character actually shows an angry side to them. Granted, it wasn't due to his own volition, it's because Venom took over him, but I really liked the movie, and I also thought the villain was scary. Another thing that I think makes this movie better than Jeff's movie for the guilty pleasures is the villain is justified. So Sandman, in the beginning of the movie, it is revealed that his daughter has cancer. So Sandman kind of goes and does all these crimes to try and get stuff for his daughter who has cancer. Obviously, you find out more stuff towards the end of the movie that kind of makes him a bad guy, but I think that he was kind of justified in the reason why he was committing all these crimes. And then, on top of Venom and on top of Sandman, you also get Green Goblin Part 2. And I don't know about Jeff's movie, but I love a comeback. So this is the second time that Green Goblin gets shown in a movie. He's played by James Franco, so that's another banger of an actor. And yeah, I just think that although the cringe factor is there, don't get me wrong, it's like the Twilight movies. There's cringe factor, but they're so good and there's a reason that they're classics. And I think that Spider-Man 3 should win round 2. I'm sorry to Jeff, who I don't know what his is, but I know mine's better.
My guilty pleasure movie is a sci-fi movie that came out in 1999, and it has a huge fan base. But this particular movie has a lot of hate. But I don't care because I really love it. And that is, of course, cue the music. Star Wars Episode 1. That's right. Yeah, so this movie gets a lot of hate, probably because of Jar Jar Binks. But you know what? Hey, I like Jar Jar too, okay? Yeah, all right, fine, I hear you. But I like Jar Jar, okay? Big deal. But see, this one has pod racing. This has all kinds of really fun stuff in there. I don't know. I've always loved this one. This one, to me, is my favorite Star Wars movie. So which one's worse? This one or his?
This is a close match, folks. It's all going to come down to the last round, which is their favorite movie of all time.
Alrighty, so for round 3, my favorite movie of all time is Ari Aster's Midsommar. Now, this movie is a recent movie. It came out in 2019, right before COVID, and it stars Florence Pugh, and it has a lot of other actors that have been in some movies, like Will Poulter. He's been in Marvel movies, stuff like that. But the reason why this is my favorite movie is because it takes the horror genre and kind of puts it in a world where it typically isn't. So the brief synopsis of the movie is you're introduced to Florence Pugh's character, and she immediately goes through a tough loss of losing all of her family. And then her boyfriend tries to console her, but then she finds out that her boyfriend is going to Sweden in like 2 weeks after her whole family passed away. So he feels guilty and she's sad, and he goes to Sweden and brings her along. Now, in Sweden, he is trying to complete his senior thesis for one of his classes with all of his friends, and his friends don't want her along because she's grieving, and she's just there enjoying all the good times. They do drugs, they're eating this cool food, they're enjoying the culture, and meanwhile, as all of this is happening, it stays in daylight the whole time. I think there's only a couple of scenes where it's in the dark, and they're inside for most of it. One thing I will say, if you do go watch this movie, because I think you should, and I think this should win of all the movies that are going to be listed in this episode, it is very brutal. There are some of the most brutal scenes I have ever seen in a movie. There's a lot of physical and practical effects that I don't want to know how they did, because honestly I would get disgusted. However, the shock value of seeing what I saw in the film also makes it one of my favorite movies of all time. It's beautifully shot, as most of the A24 movies have been that I've listed in the past episodes as well. I think this one is really, really good. I think it should be one of the movies that you put on your watch list if you haven't, and I think it's going to beat Jeff's, even though I know Jeff's is one of the greatest movies of all time. But y'all should pick mine down in the comments, and if y'all don't, I am the creator of the show, and I will edit it out, so don't you worry.
So, for my favorite movie of all time, you might be able to guess. No? If you don't have any clue, then you're probably a millennial. That's okay. This movie actually is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. It came out in July of 1985, And this was a very special movie for me because this was the first movie that I ever went to go see in the theater without any adults. This movie, of course, is an iconic Back to the Future. So I classify Back to the Future as all one movie, even though there are 3 different ones, because they're all telling the same story. However, Back to the Future is about a guy named Marty McFly who has a best friend whose name is Doc Brown. He's kind of an eccentric scientist, and then Doc builds a time machine out of a DeLorean. And then through a series of events, Marty finds himself in the year 1955, and he bumps into his parents and messes up their first meeting, which then causes him to almost to not exist anymore. So the rest of the movie he's spent trying to figure out how to get them back together. This is a fantastic movie. It is iconic. It is rewatchable. You can watch it over and over and over again, and every time you watch it, you see something different. I can go on and on and on about this movie, but if you haven't seen it, Back to the Future, there's 3 parts, Back to the Future, 1, 2, and 3. It also spun off its own animated series if you want to watch that too, but you probably won't. But if you want to watch Back to the Future, I highly recommend it because this is the best movie of all time.
Thank you for watching The Shot List Show. If you liked what you saw, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let us know what you want to see in the next one. I'll see you in the next episode.